Now, I had to go there because the first thing that we got to do is we've got to get rid of the excuses. Look at somebody next to you and tell them no more excuses. Tell them again, no more excuses. See, you don't have reason to come up into the house of God and not do what the Lord instructs you to do. You don't have reason to come up into the house of the Lord and say, well, that prophet right there is a false prophet, and he really don't have the word of the Lord in his mouth, and she really don't know what she's talking about. No. You don't have those excuses. See, there was a day we came from and through where we felt like if we weren't seeing God do things in the timing that we wanted him to do them, and if God wasn't working the way that we thought he ought to work, then it ain't real. And they false. And I've heard enough of it. And all the stuff that we say. And the attitudes that we carry. But look at somebody and tell them in this hour. Tell them in this hour. In this day. In this time. Right here. We ain't got no more excuses. Now, Pastor Dustin. And let me finish this little thought here so I can move on. Why would you say that I have no more excuses? Are you trying to say that it don't count what I've gone through? Are you trying to say that I have no credibility considering the hell that I've had to go through to get to just this place in my life? Are you saying it ain't real? Are you saying I didn't get hurt? Are you saying such and such really didn't happen to me and I know it did? Is that what you're trying to say? I know how y'all think. That's not at all what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to make is that we've all had to go through that hell. You ain't the only one that came up in this building with an excuse. You might look at me and say, well, oh, your shoes are shining and that's a nice suit. But that don't mean that I've had to go through the same kind of crap that you had to go through to get up in this building. In other words, God has gotten his people to a place in this hour. Look at somebody and say, in this hour. That might have worked yesterday. That might have worked in 1995, but that don't fly now. That don't cut it now. Because we've all had to go through stuff now. We've all had people walk out on us. We've all had people talk about us. We've all been cut and wounded and scarred and fell down and made mistakes that we wish we wouldn't have made and made decisions we wish we wouldn't have made. We all in the same place now. You ain't got some excuse because somebody hurt your feelings. You ain't got some excuse because you ain't feeling God like you used to feel him. We've all had to walk through that mess and that nonsense. But now that we're here, what are we going to do now that we're in the same place with the same excuses, all want God to do something? You can't one-up me anymore. We all in the valley of dry bones. Some of you have been wondering, why has God allowed this hour to go on for so long in my life? Because he's waiting for all of us to get to the same place. Even the pastors now done had to go through hell. It ain't just the parishioners anymore. The people from behind the pulpit, in front of the pulpit, outside the doors, everybody done had to go through mess now. We all in the same place. Look at somebody and bump them and tell them we all in the same place now. We all in the same place. So now that I have you all together, now that we all in the valley, ain't nobody up on the mountaintop. Nobody's on the mountaintop experiencing God while some of us down in the valley and we being rejected and neglected. We all here together now. So now that we're here, what are we going to do? We going to lay around and not come together? As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and give it to you. A good part of the message for sake of time, because I said I'd be closed by now, and I lied to you a little bit. Didn't mean to. It was an accidental lie. God says, listen. He says, when I bring it together, I'm going to bring it together so that you know that I am the Lord. In other words, there was something here's what I love. There was something that you wasn't getting back then. There was something about me that you weren't seeing correctly. Have any of you ever stopped and wondered and thought, God, why would you allow all this stuff to happen? It don't make no sense. Listen, let me put it to you like this. I can understand it happening for them. Because they tricked up, they messed up, But now you're going to let the same stuff. I ain't even done nothing. Why am I going through that mess that they went through? I didn't even do anything. God is saying, no, there was something about me that you weren't understanding correctly. And I have this thing about me. I need you to know that I am the Lord God. I don't need you just to know that, but you got to see that correctly. And so sometimes I've got to let stuff, crap, mess, hell, all that stuff you've got to go through. And excuse my language, I know I made some of y'all mad and you want to get mad and leave. But all that stuff, I allow it to happen so that you can see me correctly. Now, I've got you all to the same place. Now that I've got them here, Ezekiel, do you think that they can live? Prophet? What do you think, prophet? Listen, the prophet don't even take his place as a prophet. The prophet don't even proclaim to really know nothing. This is an interesting place actually in prophetic history. Because for the first time we see a prophet that's stumped. Most prophets want to jump up and, just let me get a hold of them. Let me put my gift to work. I'll show you what I'm working with, God. God's got everything now to a place that Ezekiel says, I don't know. You know. In other words, you done mess with my mind so much. I don't know what you're up to and what you're not up to. But here's what I love. In other words, if I do go to prophesying, you better know that it's for real. If I got the audacity and the nerve to open up my mouth and say something at this point, then you better know that it is legit and I ain't playing around. Because God has done come and messed stuff up enough that I'm not trying to play with him right now. And I believe that this is what Ezekiel is saying. I ain't messing around right now. So you know. And if you tell me to do something, obviously I'm going to do it. So he says, prophesy to these bones and say to them, bones, hear the word of the Lord. He didn't say, prophesy to these bones such and such and such and such. You're going to preface it, hear the word of the Lord. In other words, the first thing that you've got to do is be open for the Lord to speak to you. Now, we don't have time to get into all this. You've got to hear the word of the Lord. And then after that, this is what he says. He said, prophesy upon these bones and say to these bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter you. Now, breath is the spiritual activation of God.